Host Director for Quadrant Technologies, managing the Microsoft Alliance for the Western region. We have an awesome agenda for you, everybody, today, in which our subject matter experts are from both Quadrant and also Microsoft, and we will explore the Microsoft Fabric and AI and how they're transforming the healthcare industry today. We will cover the next hour how Microsoft Fabric simplifies data integration and analysis, enabling AI-driven insights for better decision-making and patient outcomes. We will walk you through real-world use cases and how healthcare providers can modernize their operations, improve efficiency, and unlock the full potential of their data. And throughout the presentation, please post questions to the chat, and we'll get to those answers as soon as possible. And just a brief background on Quadrant, who we are and what we do. We're a trusted leader in the cloud, AI, data analytics space, and also application modernization. As a preferred Microsoft partner, we support businesses on their digital transformation journey with precision and expertise. Some of the highlights of what we do from a services perspective are cloud migration optimization, data analytics, Microsoft Fabric solutions, where we are one of only 30 global Fabric featured partners that are specializing in building robust workloads within Microsoft Fabric. Application modernization, AI and machine learning, and also data migration. So now I'd like to introduce our speakers to you today. First of all, Prasanth Tamaraju from Quadrant, over 20 years of IT experience. Prasanth specializes in cloud migrations and data analytics in the healthcare space. He has led numerous cloud transformation projects as well, working with platforms like AWS, Azure, and GCP to enhance scalability, security, performance within the healthcare industry. Prasanth is also skilled in leveraging advanced data analytics, predictive modeling, and machine learning to improve patient care, optimize clinical operations, and reduce costs. Also from Microsoft, we have an esteemed guest, Puneet Jayasinghe, over 25 years with Microsoft in the data analytics space. She is healthcare lead architect in America's Global Partner Solutions Organization. She has helped many customers and partners in designing and implementing enterprise data AI solutions for healthcare. At Microsoft, Puneet is co-lead for Women in Tech Group and is actively helping partners, young women and girls, in STEM. She also has achieved an Event Speaker Gold Badge, which demonstrate her public speaking skills and ability to present ideas and influence a global audience. Last but certainly not least is Lucy Rack with Microsoft, is a partner solution architect in the Microsoft Americas partner space, and also focuses on AI and machine learning, has advised partners and customers across industries in building and implementing effective generative AI customers across generative AI solutions, growing an AI practice and developing robust, responsible, ethical AI LLM operation approaches. She has a particular interest in AI security, specifically AI red teaming and prompt injection mitigation. Prior to Microsoft, Lucy worked in the edtech space with a focus on technology strategy. Without further ado, I'd like to hand this over to Puneet with Microsoft, who will talk about the high-level healthcare, data and AI strategy, and health data solutions within the Fabric platform. Puneet?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. And with that, first of all, welcome everyone. Glad to have everyone here. So I'm going to talk about healthcare data and AI transformation. So at a very high level, from that healthcare digital data and AI transformation aspect, when we think about how healthcare engineering is building products and our platforms, and when we think about the architecture that our cloud products offer to our healthcare customers, and how the capabilities are being delivered, this is the picture we talk about it at that time. So if we translate this stack into a flow, this demonstrates how the data is ingested, stored, and analyzed and visualized in Fabric and the data platform for healthcare. So on the left-hand side, there are various healthcare data sources. As you can see, the data is ingested. In the bottom, you can see it is ingested through connectors, Microsoft Data Factory, and partner interop solutions. And then we have Fabric, which is our, SaaS solution, which allows users to easily connect data movement, data science, data engineering, data integration, real-time analytics, business intelligence, and data lake in a single streamlined location. So once the data persists in data lake, we can use the transformation pipelines to refine the data to move from bronze to silver to gold, to prepare the data and to start leveraging the power of LLMs and LFMs in the context of healthcare data, in the context of clinical and operational workflows. And as we move up the stack, where we can start building the proprietary solutions and for the healthcare needs. Like here you can see on top, healthcare data services. It is a suite of cloud-based tools designed to securely manage, analyze, exchange health data using open standards like FHIR and DICOM. And then in the middle of the section, you can see the Azure Healthcare Services for Health. We have 3 foundation models for AI, which we have newly added. And then we have healthcare agent services, healthcare and clinical safeguards, and healthcare AI insights, and so on. So this platform, with the inclusion of Fabric, it provides, OneDrive of data, services, imaging structured and unstructured data in all modalities, with a streamlined ability to reason over that workload of data. So on the right side of this picture, I'm just going to go over 2 things here, like interoperability. If you look at it, that's the first one when it comes to healthcare, So we are enabling, better data sharing, system integration, collaboration with healthcare or ecosystem while leveraging the cloud technologies and also the partner solutions. And on the data governance side, on the right-hand side, if you see, we have added the new healthcare application templates in Microsoft Purview. If you guys don't know what Purview is a unified data governance service which helps you discover, catalog, and classify data across your data state. So we have, specialized that for healthcare as itself. And now, next, I'm going to talk about the how you've all heard about how powerful AI needs the clean data. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about our healthcare data solutions in Fabric, that went over GA earlier at the health conference in October of 24. And that AI is as good as the data it's based on. So at Microsoft, we are offering you a few tools that will help you get your data into the right shape and for your powerful AI. So today I'm going to talk about the first 2 steps, and then Lucy is going to talk about the AI part. So the first 2 steps, I'm going to talk about that end-to-end analytics platform from Microsoft Fabric with the healthcare solution, data solutions in Fabric. Next slide, please. Now, again, if you're not familiar with what Microsoft Fabric is, I briefly mentioned, it is a collection of different tools that help you bring your data into Microsoft platform, transform it, model it, and then build analytics on top of it, and eventually build AI models on it. So what Fabric is doing, it is allowing you doing that data science, data engineering, data integration, real-time analytics, business analytics, in a single streamlined location. And what we have done is, if you can go to the next slide, what we have done with the healthcare data solutions in Microsoft Fabric, we have actually, one slide behind. Yeah, just stay right here. So what we have done is we have actually, if you see the bottom is Fabric, what we have done is we have actually extended the Fabric platform, and we have added some healthcare capabilities on top of it. So what we are doing is we are helping you bring different healthcare data, help you transform it into a healthcare data model. And then we are also providing you some healthcare analytical and cohorting solutions on top of it. So overall, if you think about it, like Fabric, right, and our healthcare capabilities, at the core, everything is Fabric. We are not changing anything with Fabric. All we are doing is on top, we are providing a layer and the functionality, which is more applicable for healthcare. So what we are doing with that, if you see, there are 3 things there. The first one is that we are providing you is the healthcare transformation, which is the healthcare data pipelines, So, and what you are doing here is, which is, helping you get the data into those data models. That's what we are doing with the transformation layer. And then we are providing you the healthcare data models. And then finally, we are providing you the analytical solutions that bring to life, your engineers, your data ops team. They'll all love the data model and they'll all love the clinical pipelines, but business needs to understand the value of data that is locked within that. And that is really where the analytical solutions that come. And that's the value that we are providing. We are providing that, data models, transformation layers, and the analytical solutions on top of Fabric for healthcare. And now, next one is, if you look at this picture, if you're going to look at Fabric and you go to industry solutions, this is the picture you would see. And what it is showing is, it is showing all the capabilities which are healthcare related. And these are composable, meaning you don't have to use everything. You can use one at a time. So you can start exploring them, you can start installing them, and it just doesn't take too long. Like within like few minutes, you can start deploying these services. And this gives you, everything that you can deploy. So if you like, there is some animation on the screen. If you click on this one, you would see that the very first one, the very first two, if you can do one click, maybe it might show the animation. I guess it's not, so I'm not going to worry about that. So, okay. The very first one was the, so now it's showing the data discovery and the exploration side. And we also have some things, so that, as I mentioned, we have clinical data. You can we have FHIR pipelines here. We have DICOM data, claims data, SDOH data. We also have enrichment capabilities. And finally, we also have the analytical experiences. So you can adopt, all those individually. So these capabilities or features, help to accelerate time to value by addressing the clinical needs to effectively transform healthcare data into suitable format for analysis. So that's the value prop here. And then the next slide, please. So what are you getting out of it overall, right? So the end result that you are going to get is a multi-model Mendelian-based lakehouse. So if you look at this slide, basically there are few data sources that we provide you to bring in, like clinical data, imaging, claims data, DAX Copilot data, and SDOH data. You can land them into Fabric, into that one lake. And then we have pipelines that transform them into a healthcare data model, which is heavily inspired by healthcare standard FHIR. So at Microsoft, we don't want to invent our own standards. We are kind of relying on the standards that are available in the industry. That brings you to this unified silver refined lake where you can build out, multiple use cases. And what we have done is kind of this unified data across these different modalities. Either you have, additional pipelines that can enrich the data so that you can potentially, take out or take unstructured data, create structured, extract, specific entities from it or on top of it, or transform it for your own use cases. Like, for example, OMOP, this is another industry standard for clinical research. We have care management, patient outreach, or you can build your own gold layer. So all of this is a part of the platform. So any tools that are available as a part of Microsoft Fabric, they will be available here as well. And you can extend it as you would normally do. So this is kind of the result you're going to get. So with that, there is a quick video. If you can play that. And with that, I will end my talk. Thank you all. I don't hear the sound. Let's try it again if you can hear the sound. If not, let's just go to the next section. Basically, it was just trying to show you, how you are bringing in all the data, how you can bring in the data, you can convert them into the Power BI dashboards, and you can run co-pilots on top of them. So that was just a visual. So with that, I think let's go with the AI section with Lucy.
Thank you so much, Puni. I'll just take a moment to quickly actually stay on the earlier slide just to give a little bit of context before we dive in. So hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. As mentioned before, my name is Lucy Rack, and I want to speak a little bit in terms of what we're seeing from a perspective of the latest announcements in Azure AI, but also from a Microsoft AI perspective, and really, if we're zooming out truly, just what we're seeing in the world of kind of generative AI advancements and trends overall. So if we kind of zoom out to the past, 5 to 10 years of what we are seeing, again, as Puneet mentioned, the quality of the data that you start with has always been paramount in terms of the power of what you can do with the AI systems you layer on top of it, right? So that's always been true even in classical ML. We had to have very clean data in order to have something meaningful and impactful out of that. It's also been true in the context of retrieval augmented generation, which is the main generative AI application we've seen, where you have some enterprise data. We've been able to enable that chat experience where you're conversing with the data. And now what we're really looking at, if we can go to the next slide, is taking those two pieces, so the power of LLMs and the models that we have, the power of those knowledge sources that we have, and layering on top of that an additional step of actions, right? So not only being able to have that experience of conversing with your data or summarizing it, querying it, but also then taking actions based off of this. So I'm going to come back to this example of a trip booking, but first I actually want to go to the next slide just to kind of think about, okay, what have these actions looked like previously, and what would they look like in this new realm where we're layering the data, the models, and the actions together in what we call this field of agentic AI, right? So previously, when we are looking at process automation and being able to take specific actions, we're looking usually at the realm of RPA, robotic process automation, where you would have very strictly defined rules that were usually fairly limited in terms of certain actions that you could take or could not take. So we've all been through the experience of onboarding into a new company, and this is kind of the example of, okay, RPA could kind of plug in at certain places here and there, but there were definitely limitations and a lot of manual work that we still needed to do as part of this. If you move to the next slide, when we think about this within the context of then having this agentic AI enabled, we look at having this idea of specialized agents, right? Which each of them have their own specialized set of instructions, their own model that they're potentially leveraged that's best tailored to that use case, and also their own set of data sources that they're specifically looking at. And what we're doing is using orchestration systems such as semantic kernel or autogen. We're orchestrating these agents together to be able to take those actions on behalf of users, while at the same time still keeping this idea of the human in the loop, right? So when we think about now being able to enable these as part of that onboarding process, we have an agent that's taking that action of setting up the user account, looking to the documentation on known issues in order to troubleshoot any issues that are taking up, and in a sense starting to operate a little bit autonomously or able to work through certain blockers, at least through a certain set of steps. And again, throughout the whole while, we're keeping this idea of the human in the loop, giving that feedback back. And again, ultimately just freeing up time for each of these personas to spend less time on those manual tasks and more time on that more meaningful, kind of deeper deeper work that, ideally we would all like to spend more time on, right? So if we move to the next slide, I want to kind of come back to this example of what it would look like in the idea of that travel booking. So again, this is just another way of looking at something similar where we have two agents. One is specialized. It's connected to the TripAdvisor API, and it's going to be searching back those hotels to help us find one in New York that's available on certain dates, right? The second agent is specialized more so on all the company policies. So if I, as the user, need to understand, okay, how should I be planning to budget for each of my meals? Again, then it's going back to those files I have in SharePoint. That's the set of specialized data it's aligned to, and then it's returning back information on that. And you can imagine we could have a third agent as well that's, again, taking that action of potentially doing the hotel booking or certain restaurant reservation booking on our behalf with our approval. So if we move to the next slide, how is all of this being supported? I believe there may be one more slide to go ahead to, or to go back to. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. So what this is all looking like from an Azure perspective, these agentic AI systems have existed mostly in their research space over the past 18 months or so. But what's really been missing and where the trend has been shifting is towards enabling this for enterprise use cases, right? And what I would really call out here are these elements on the bottom. What historically we've been missing here is the opportunity to have those agentic AI systems in play, but with the enterprise grade security controls that you need for your organization, right? So a couple of the ones that I would call out are, being able to bring your own virtual network, bring your own private network, having that enhanced observability experience and logging experience on top of, and then also most importantly, being able to bring your enterprise data in a very connected experience that makes it quite seamless for getting that set up. Because again, most of these agents is really only as powerful, similar to RAG scenarios, as the data that we're able to leverage those models and those actions on top of. So this is what the Azure AI Agent service that was announced at Ignite in November is targeting. It's currently available through the SDK in public preview, and will also be available in the Azure AI Foundry Playground as well. But what it's really connecting is these actions that we had enabled in the Assistance API, like file search, code interpreter, but with that full model catalog to be able to choose the best model tailored to that use case. And with all of that data that you have, as Puneet mentioned, either in Fabric or in SharePoint, maybe in Azure AI Search or in your blob storage. And these are just some of the actions that start to tie in. So either through Logic apps or through Azure Functions or others. And again, on top of all of this, what we have is that built-in support for the enterprise level security and for those responsible AI considerations, those evaluation metrics as part of that whole development journey. So lastly, if we can just move to the next slide on this. Thank you so much. Again, this is just kind of another way of looking at the same thing. I have bolded a little bit, some of the announcements that, or some of the features that I think are quite interesting, in particular, being able to bring your own storage, being able to bring your own private network, as we mentioned, but also this idea of, whereas before these agentic AI systems have been mostly, as mentioned, in the research world, in the open source world, we want to be able to enable you on your scaling of these tools, right? So what that looks like from the Azure perspective is being able to scale with PTUs so that you can be looking at managing that latency in a more expected and manageable way as part of that. So this is what we're really starting to look towards in the coming months in terms of one of those big trends within generative AI is this idea of building agentic AI in a secure way, in a way that's empowered by the quality of the data that you have, and in a way where you have those responsible AI observability considerations and evaluation metrics that are supported as part of that platform. Lastly, if we could just move to the last slide that we have here, the one other item that I did want to call out was one of the announcements from Ignite on data zones. And I want to mention this because, data residency, data sovereignty, data processing sovereignty, of course, is something that's significant in many industries, but healthcare in particular, we recognize the regulations that exist and the considerations that you need to have in place as part of that. And what these data zones are really targeting is for, as you're going through building generative AI solutions, you're deploying LLMs or other SLMs, other models. What this is helping to ensure is that you're staying within the regions that you need to be, right? So rather than you're operating in the US and you're needing to deploy a model that's hosted in Canada, rather you can be operating with that scaling of the PTUs within a particular data zone. I just think it's something important to call out when thinking about, okay, how can we be enabling that kind of built-in consideration of those data residency requirements. So with that, I think, part of two of the kind of key considerations out of this is that when we think about these AI systems, they're only as powerful as the data that we're leveraging on top of them. And when we think about you yourself as an organization, it's only as powerful leveraging this as when we have that industry expertise that's being layered on top of it, and those solutions that are being built and layered on top of these functionalities. So with that, I'd like to pass it to the Quadrant team to speak about some of their solutions in this space.
Thank you very much, Lucy. So moving forward to the Quadrant Healthcare Data Solutions. So we have been working with a lot of our healthcare customers in making sure that we cover the core healthcare capabilities around our patient care management, our core care analytics, operational analytics, and other areas. So which we are going to double click a little bit and also talk about a few of the other case studies that we have implemented successfully. And what are the core areas within which where we are currently investing and working with customers in order to solutionize them. Moving ahead to the next one. So these are the core areas or the healthcare capabilities that we are focusing heavily. It can be the personalized care management, the patient insights, the clinical analytics, operational analytics, interoperability, and care coordination, where everything is revolving around how we manage the various data sources. What are the different standards in the healthcare industry? What are the formats that are currently present, like HL7, DICOM, CCD, all these related data sources, and how we are going to transform them in order to make sure they are consumed by the systems across the healthcare industry and provide the required help and support to, let it be the patients or the payers or the providers, in order to make sure they have a consolidated and well-knit system. Moving ahead, double click on the healthcare solutions. So we have built our healthcare capabilities like personalized care, patient insights. All these are being realized with our tech stack, where the application layer, it can be Dynamics, Power Platform, and the underlying data layer, which is powered by Microsoft's healthcare data systems, Fabric, Purview, and everything is built on top of the Azure stack. So all these together integrated is what we are currently solutionizing it, making sure we reach to the customers with this technology stack and make sure that we understand their domain, they understand their requirements, and we cater to the healthcare capabilities in order to deliver the use cases which are more relevant to the smart on fire apps or a patient portal management system or modernizing their current legacy systems or intelligent nurse automation systems. So these are few of the areas that we are utilizing our expertise in these technologies in order to deliver value to the customer. The next one would be focusing on a kind of interoperability, which is very much necessity when it comes to handling these kind of complex systems. Next one, please. So here, the data sources that we have, it can be the HL7, the CCD, or the DICOM. All these data sources need to be ingested into a kind of an orchestration layer where we have the different data sets and the source systems and how we are going to ensure that the required data quality and governance is set on top of it. It can be the cleansing, deduping of the data, or the metadata-driven data quality framework, or how we enrich them and how we do the patient matching. Everything together will enable us to have the mature data model, which can be the healthcare unified data model covering core entities like patient, payer, diagnostic data, claims data, etc. And all the APIs that we are building are going to be consumed by the downstream applications, which can be utilized by the payers or the providers in order to handle the different use cases. So similarly, this is a kind of platform that we're working with where you can accelerate your adoption and the data backup and recovery and how we deploy them effectively across the customer environment is quite critical. And security as governance is the center of everything, where we focus on how we bring in that value, the secured platform within the organization, and how we set up that data governance, and how we ensure that the end-to-end network and the messaging layer and the security at various layers is handled properly. And everything is accelerated with Microsoft's healthcare data solutions. Can we move on, please? So our healthcare data and AI solutions are having three core pillars. One is the healthcare data services, which is a kind of a layer that we have built on top of Microsoft Fabric healthcare data services. And AI solutions is one critical area where we have been developing a lot of applications with different multiple stack, like the front end, the databases involved, as well as the Azure OpenAI, and also the applications that we have ensured in order to power the end users in order to make sure they have the right data sets in their hands. So here we are using our ingestion accelerator, where we have our own product called QMigrator, which can understand all of these data sets across the industry, and we make sure we transform these data sets into the consumable formats and ingest them into the Fabric One Lake. And once we pass through the medallion architecture, the various data cleansing or setting up the landing zone and creation of this integration with Fire APIs, and finally generating the OMOP analytics on top of the gold layer. So all these are achieved using the Fabric Healthcare Data Solutions as the central block, which is it's kind of an easy deployable components, which would really accelerate the value. And also our accelerators on top of this platform, which are bringing value to the customers with respect to how we improve the data quality, improve the data governance, and improve the AI modeling and data modeling in order to ensure that the right insights are transmitted out in terms of the dashboards or chatbots, effectively providing the modernized approach for the healthcare insights. Moving to the next one. We want to double click on specific healthcare AI solutions where we have generated certain Ask Me bots, appointment booking automations, the diagnostic helper, the doctor-patient conversation summary, how we automate them by recording their voice commands or using the speech as your speech and converting them into a digital content. And we are also exploring a lot of other areas, especially the DAX Copilot and other Copilots experiences, which would really enhance the value of these tools, and would really help in providing the end users kind of more information with respect to their claims information, or some kind of related information on their diagnostics, and how easily we can migrate this information into their EHR systems so that they can record them and then reuse for a later purpose. Yeah, moving on. So now we'll just take a look at a couple of the case studies that we have implemented. And because this is pretty much more on the AI-driven case studies that we do have, and we are focusing to deliver value through these specific implementations to the customer, and how these are really helping them in realizing the potential of Fabric, data, and AI with their what do you call solutions to their day-to-day problems. So can we move to the next one? So this is a typical problem statement where hospital chain wanted to have an access to their information. They do have lots of documents across their organization, which they wanted to summarize them and have an easily free text request response mechanism, where we came up with this bot framework which would answer all the questions related from their documentation and give the details about what is the connectivity, from which source has been the information has been retrieved, and what are the kind of natural language processing that we were able to do, and it is seamlessly integrated into the CRM system. So this is a kind of a series of activities that we were able to automate here. One is the ask me kind of requesting for information. The other is the registration bot, where a patient can ask for a particular doctor appointment, and that can be converted into a registration appointment and can be integrated into their CRM system. And then typically, there will be a notification and acknowledgement back to the user as well as the care provider. Next one, please. So this is a typical architecture. So where we integrate all the knowledge base articles that we have, we move them to the blob storage, and using Azure AI search as the vectorization, we have the query from the user, and then we just scan through the information, and then through the AI engine, we just connect to the CRM system in order to insert the information or retrieve the information back and provide it to the user. So this kind of architecture is pretty much allowing us to generate more scenarios with respect to how we service the customers in the healthcare industry using OpenAI and the AI search, which is really helping us rather than going through all this information by ourselves. It's really cutting down the time taken to get to the right point and improving the overall efficiency by 30 to 40% overall. The next one, please. So this scenario talks about a patient-doctor interaction where we wanted to summarize. The customer is looking, there were a lot of prescriptions and a lot of diagnostic recommendations. So we wanted to summarize all of them together using the Azure OpenAI framework so that there will be less errors and all the information can be recorded well and then sent back to a EHR system. So how the architecture goes, just let's move to the next one, please. So this is typically how a conversation between a doctor and a patient are just recorded, and using Azure Cognitive Services, we converted them into kind of a transcription, and that generation has been integrated using the summarization engine. How effectively we can just convert that into an understandable format, which is having the context between the doctor and the patient, and how that has been effectively using the terminology which is relevant to the healthcare industry, and then keeping all that information in different sections, as well as making sure we integrate it back into the EHR system, and then effectively bring that value even to their web applications or to the mobile applications for the users. So this is the typical architectures that we can develop using the tech stack that we do have, using AI and Fabric. Can we move to the next one, please? So we have Quadrant deployed the healthcare data solutions provided by Microsoft, and we have successfully deployed it and generated a rich dashboards for the customers. And it's not only the dashboarding experience, but also the Copilot experience that brings value and productivity in terms of how fast we can spin up these solutions and how effectively we can generate more robust integrations that is possible. So where we came up with some kind of data quality and governance Python plugin, which is connected on top of this healthcare data solutions. And also we modified the how we perform the model generation, right? On top of this, how relevant healthcare models can be generated on top of this data on the silver layer, and how we can generate a semantic model. So at each and every layer, we have the Copilot experience, as well as integration of these AI components is bringing true value in how we are delivering or how we are developing these systems at quick pace and helping the customers. So currently, this entire healthcare data solutions can be brought to any customer environment in a sprint. So that is the effective utilization, as well as making sure we are bringing this value through these technical as well as the functional integration together to the customers. And that has been a journey. Just moving ahead. So the next slide talks about our call to action. So where it is whatever the work that's being done and what is the further steps from here, right? Can we move to the next one? So, I mean, there are a few upcoming industry events we wanted to call out. So there is Quadrant as a Fabric and real-time intelligence partner. We are delivering a workshop in Dallas. We are also taking part in the HIMSS during March, and we are a diamond sponsor for FabCon Vegas from March 31st to April 2nd. So these are all the exciting events to look out for, as well as any customer who's looking for in order to implement the Fabric healthcare data solutions. Feel free to schedule a session with us and get a free assessment, as well as an implementation roadmap to the problems and how we can effectively bring this overall value to the implementation. And these are all the offerings as well as the accelerators that we have developed. So please reach out to us. We have the experts with respect to the functional knowledge as well as the technical expertise on how we can deliver Fabric, how we can deliver AI solutions at scale. With that, I would hand it over back to James for the Q&A session. Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for coming back. I appreciate everybody. I have a couple questions from the chat, and I'll go one by one. Starting with for the panel, starting with Calvin Wright. How do you ensure the accuracy and reliability of AI algorithms in healthcare applications?
I'm happy to start with this one and pass it over to the Quadrant team or anyone else that would like to add on. So this is a very big question, and there's many layers to it. I would say probably the layer that I would think of for starting with is what are the inbuilt protections and explainability that we have within a given service. So from an Azure AI perspective, if you look at the documentation for the services, each of them have a section called transparency and explainability notes, where they discuss what is there being implemented natively within the system to manage that, right? The next layer that we look at is what we are actually including when we're architecting the solution, right? So for instance, if I have a use case where maybe for a certain question, I want the exact same response returned back every time, there are ways through caching or through other mechanisms that we can be implementing that and ensuring that, okay, for question X, we will always return response Y to the user. On top of that, then what we start to look at are certain evaluation metrics when it comes to reliability, right? And when it comes to the confidence score that we're seeing for a particular service. So, for instance, with data extraction from documents, with the document intelligence service, then we can see the confidence score. We can have an idea of what we're seeing across our testing. And then lastly, when it comes to generative AI, what we're also looking at is then, as part of your prompt engineering, having those guardrails in place. And I think most importantly for all of these solutions, especially if it's anything where an action would be taken out of the response that's being given, it's critical to have that human in the loop as part of that, right? So that's what we're always encouraging as part of that design principle. But really, because it's such a critical piece to ensuring a responsible AI solution is in place, there's many different layers where you'd be looking at implementing those guardrails. Prasant, I don't know if you had anything you'd like to add on to that as well.
No, absolutely. I think these AI models are to be well tested, and we have to ensure that we have the data accuracy and maturity when it comes to how performant the AI is. So whatever we provide to the AI model in a kind of an improper state, obviously we're not going to get it back. So basically, what we are ensuring is there are a lot of technical levers that we do with respect to how we fine tune the data, how we improve the kind of correlational attributes, right? What are the kind of data integrations that we are supposed to do in order to make sure we get the complete patient 360-degree view in order to get the right perspective so that the AI model can perform at its best. So we have been facing these issues, and the way we handle that is understanding the perspective and making sure we are factoring in all the required data assets and to drive the value to this. But I think we have a lot of these rich models which are provided out of the box, which need to be passed the right data sets, and we should be able to generate the value for them. Yep.
Great. We have another
I
question.
think I would
from
like
Wayne.
to add, this is like great points. Yeah, I do want to add just one last point to that, reliability, like in that healthcare side, I do want to add is, always in healthcare, there is something called like the healthcare safeguards. It can be like the chat safeguards, clinical safeguards, compliance safeguards. And we do have, that is another new service which is in preview right now. It'll be good to look into that as well. So those are the ways that we are making sure that there is a reliability when it comes to the healthcare side from AI.
Great.
That's it from my side, Jamie.
Thank you. Wayne has a question. What role does machine learning play in healthcare modernization?
Oh my goodness, this is such a huge topic. We can go on and on, like I can talk about just a couple of things, like even if you start with, the clinical data analysis and prediction, right? There can be a predictive analytics, right? The Azure ML models can, predict the, patient outcome, like for example, likelihood of, readmission or complications, risk stratification, identify, high risk patients for diseases like, diabetes and cancer and things like that. Then there is population health management, right? Like look at the insights, from that data and look for the chronic diseases and improve, the public health policies. There are things with medical imaging you can do. There can be personalized, medicine, and there can be like even at the operational efficiency, right? Like a fraud detection, make sure, identify there are like there are insurance claims or billing errors and things like that. And like I can go on and on, like even with that, natural language and processing, NLP in healthcare, you can start looking at, clinical documentation, you can automate that doctor patient conversations and things like that. There are many tools, cognitive services, and we have DAX. So there are many ways that you can leverage that. So hopefully that helps what you're looking for. And anything, Prasant, you want to add, please feel free.
Absolutely. I think, that was a comprehensive list, but it's a never ending list. There are a lot of scenarios when it comes to machine learning models. So one simple thing in one of the conversations we faced, with the customer was they were looking at generating this clinical trial information and how they can map a particular patient to a set of clinical trials or how they can map some multiple people to multiple trails, or what is the correct specimen in order to understand, right, what is the outcome that they're going to do. So those kind of data modeling in order to understand how the anomalies are, what are the gaps. So I think the opportunities are endless with respect to healthcare use cases. So I think everywhere, in every step, AI modeling and data modeling is critical.
Great. And John had a question regarding the FabCon link. Yeah, there should be one available soon. We'll find out if we have one now, but it should be generally available when it is out for the FabCon. So more to follow on that. One other question here: how do you handle the integration of AI with EHR?
That's
So
yeah. Go ahead, Prasad. Go ahead, and I can add later.
Sure. I mean, the integration of this is again a topic of interoperability. So making sure how we effectively transform this data, right, into the understandable formats. So we are using effectively AI in order to do the kind of transformation with respect to formats like HL7, CCD, etc. And we do have the capability of FHIR API, but the integration along with that, we are also making sure there is sufficient data pipelines which do ensure the quality as well as the efficiency of this data. And then once we write it back into these EHR systems, right, that should be applicable, or the format it should be easily understandable based on the conversations or the historical conversation that happened between the patient and the doctor. Yeah, I think AI is really helping us there in order to transform the data into the right format.
Yeah. Then the other one thing I would add here is when you're talking about the electronic health record, with the nuances products too, like for example, the tags ambient, experience, the DMO products and all that, we are automatically doing those integrations. So, when the patient and doctor, they're having a conversation, all those clinical notes, right, how they are added into the EHR. So those are automatically done behind the scenes, right? So those are the integrations that we are working with actually some of the EHRs, like especially DAX, like with Epics, that's what is happening, the DAX Copilot and Nursing Copilot. And you are going to hear more announcements such as integrations during HIMSS conference in March as well.
Great. Data privacy is a massive area of healthcare. How do you address data privacy and security concerns when using AI in healthcare?
So I would say, like, not just healthcare, this is like a big topic, right? Like overall, how you are handling that. And we do have, like if you go to our documentation page from that AI compliances offerings, what we say is, our inputs, prompts and, outputs, our embeddings, training data, like nothing is, available to the customers. It's not available to OpenAI, so those are the disclaimers that you have. So it's not just for healthcare. I would say overall, we do make sure that there is data privacy and security is addressed with that. And Lucy, Prasad, if you guys want to add more to that. And another thing is, like the safeguards, that's something we do keep it in place, right? The healthcare safeguards, the clinical safeguards, which we already talked about it earlier.
Absolutely. I think, in this AI age, privacy, security, risk, and compliance, these are all very, very important. So we do ensure each and every implementation that we do, that we cover the security aspect. Now with tools like Purview, Microsoft Purview, and how we can pull in the data into these systems, and how we can govern and establish a kind of domains within the Purview as well as domains within Fabric, right? So we are able to spin up these two and integrate them effectively in order to make sure I have the control as a user on the data that is within my organization. There are such governance dashboards we are able to spin up and then showcase any kind of an alerting mechanism using tools like real-time intelligence, and notify the respective users about any kind of anomalies or any kind of governance or access issues that we are able to find within the organization.
I would just add on to that as well. I think, Puneet mentioned all the kind of guardrails that are built in. And I think part of the benefit of the solutions from an Azure perspective and the solutions that Quadrant has built is that enterprise grade security is being considered as part of that, right? So when it comes to virtual networks, when it comes to how you're securing your networking infrastructure and everything where that's kind of surrounding as the landing zone that you're building that AI application on top of, then that's already being considered. And as Puneet mentioned, I included the link. When you're going through that process with generative AI specifically, all that data is remaining within your tenant and belongs to you. And that also applies to any fine-tuned models. The data that you're using to fine-tune those models completely belongs to you. It is not being shared back in any way. And the same thing goes for the fine-tuned model that you create.
Another question in regards to the patient-doctor transcript model. Big question is how is it tolerant is the first part of the question. And is it, if there's a possibility for the conversation, if it's not clear between the patient and the doctor, for machine learning, how does it handle this? How does it handle that?
Yeah, I mean, so basically, whenever we do record these voice commands, so there is lack of this clarity or sometimes, so there is some kind of issues with respect to the data that is recorded, right? So what we do is we just do the fine tuning as appropriate. There are a lot of tools as well as making sure there is a different style of implementing these fine tuning models, how we effectively record and make sure that the conversation is making sense. So we do use the cognitive services as well as this LLMs that are available in order to specifically handle this data, which is not clear, and there is some accuracy constant improvement. So initial recordings, we found that it was having an accuracy close to just 55 to 60%. But later on, when we added more context to it, like some healthcare related nuances, the healthcare unified data model related information, everything together, it was able to understand and improve the accuracy to close to 80%. So, I mean, iterations after iterations, as more we do the recording, as more we do the fine tuning, we are able to improve the accuracy on how these models are behaving, as well as how effective the response that is going to be. So I think that's a constant exercise that we do with respect to this, and we are also creating those experiences that we are having implementation after implementation, which can be reused as an artifact for our future implementations.
Great. And everybody, based on time and also simplicity, if somebody would like to continue to put something in chat, I know there was a request to speak and have a question, but based on the panel, the format here, it would be much quicker if you can put it in chat, if that's okay. Another question that came up, may I know the reason for choosing Azure AI Search as vector DB for the appointment bot architecture?
I mean, it is I mean, there are multiple options, but Azure AI Search is built in out of the box, where it is easy for us to integrate with all the current solutions across the AI stack that we do have. And implementation of these AI Foundry models is also giving a quicker implementation. So that was one straightforward, because the customer wanted it to be across in the Azure AI stack. So, but we do have other options like PostgreSQL, any database like a SQL Server also today can be implemented as a vector DB, and we can have it integrated into our current architectures. But I think it was a choice based on the overall architecture and design along with the customer. Yeah.
What are the challenges in ensuring AI systems are transparent and explainable to healthcare providers and patients?
Lucy, would you like to?
Yes, for sure. I can definitely start on this one. This is a big question, and I think it touches on a lot of the elements that we were discussing when it comes to ensuring that reliability, ensuring that consistent performance, right? I think part of what's interesting about all of these solutions is that they're also really coming out of and being grounded in understanding that persona very deeply, right? So I think when we're building those solutions, there's a responsibility to both have that inclusion of having the human in the loop, to be giving that feedback as the expert in that scenario, and understanding how that technology is really going to be helping their workload best, but also making sure it's very clear and transparent to them, right? So I think that's why it's really important to be having that feedback loop in place. There's a lot that we can include in terms of, kind of like upfront documentation on a solution, explaining what that will or will not be used for, and explaining that, there is a human feedback loop. But it's a big question, so there's lots of different kind of best practices around it that are important to consider through that process. And it should be an iterative process as well of that kind of constant improvement there.
And I think, again, even just to add to that, the transparency, note for, Azure OpenAI, that's something, you guys can read about that also. I think that might be helpful.
One question came up as far as, I know we're running out of time here. We have 1 minute. Any limitations with AI in healthcare today? I know it's a general question, but any points on limitations on AI in healthcare?
I can start with the first one. Like, as Lucy has mentioned and Prasad had mentioned many times, human in the loop, like really very important. It is like we are not recommending right now for that clinical side of it, right? You still need human in the loop. You need that provider to be there, right? It's not that somebody's like, let me go ask a question and like treat myself, right? That itself is it is not there yet. So I think that is one of the top ones which just come to mind. Like, okay, that's one limitation that you can think about. And even like from that medical devices aspect and all that, you got to be a little bit careful. Like, is it doing the alerts at the right time and things like that? So I know we are at time. If there is anything you guys want to add, Lucy and Prasad.
Yeah, I mean, I can add it from a partner point of view, Puneet. So where interop solutions, conversion of these formats is kind of importance here. So I think a lot more partner solutions can be focused where we establish that robust integration between these varied systems, and then how effectively we can transform the data and then move it into a fabric kind of an ecosystem, and then scale it up for the AI. So I think, yeah, looking forward to all those wonderful use cases.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone.
So we have a couple minutes here. Is everybody able to go a couple minutes over just for a couple questions, or otherwise we can field those at a separate time? We'll go one more.
Do we have the ability to answer them on the? Okay, yeah,
We'll go one more question. No problem. One more question, and then we can get back to everybody with the questions that were not answered, if that's okay. This is for Puneet directly. What are the key considerations for ensuring data integrity and consistency in a distributed AI system?
I'm sorry. Can you display the question?
There we go.
Data integrity and consistency in a distributed AI. Data integration. First of all, we just need to make sure, yeah. The main thing you need to just make sure is, that when you are getting the system, that what is the source system? Where is the data coming from, right? And is there and how are you placing that system in the target? Is there when it comes to the healthcare side, right? Is there multiples and dupes and things like that? And those are the things that we make sure with our pipelines, right? So that's the first thing we need to see. So I think that uniqueness, that this goes back more to, how you are designing the system, how you are doing your modeling, right? Do you have the right keys and things like that? That's where it comes down to those basic parts of it, right? Like, how are you ensuring those things? And Prasad, Lucy, anything else? I think it's just how you're designing your system pretty much. You're making sure there is integration. You've done those things with the ETL. You're using the data factory components correctly, so there are no data dupes and things like that. That's where I would, and what is it? What are you, what is your EMPI, at least from the healthcare side?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Well, thanks everyone. That's it. We really appreciate the time. We had a great outcome from this event, and we look forward to working with all of you, hopefully very, very soon.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.